And here to go in depth, we're very pleased to be joined by Newsmax Deputy Health Editor Nick Tate, who is also the author of the Obamacare Survival Guide. So, Nick, it's good to have you back. The question becomes, will Obamacare itself survive the lawsuit going to the Supreme Court? Break it down for us.
Essentially what the Supreme Court is going to be looking at is a single sentence in this 2,500-page law that says that states that do not have their own exchanges cannot provide subsidies to individuals that are buying their insurance through the exchanges. If they strike that down and enforce the letter of the law, those subsidies go away for 85% of the 8 million Americans that have signed up for insurance, which essentially, according to many health experts, means Obamacare could collapse under its own weight.
And what do you think the likelihood of that happening is?
I think that the fact that they've moved to take this up suggests that they're very interested in this, and in fact there is a district court of appeals that has already struck down this law, so I think there is a chance that they may do this.
Altogether, or just certain pieces of it?
It's just the one aspect of the law, but
okay.
You know, the subsidies are a little bit like the loose thread on a sweater, that if you tug it, it unravels the whole thing. The subsidies are the foundation of the individual mandate requiring everybody to have insurance with a subsidy that helps them pay for it. It's also the triggering mechanism for the employer mandate, so that employers have to provide health insurance, and if you can't get your health insurance from your employer, you buy it from an exchange, you get a subsidy. That's what triggers the enforcement of that aspect of the law too. So there are wide-ranging applications and implications of just this one little piece.
And a lot of businesses are already changing the way they handle things because of this mandate, right? They're taking a lot of full-time employees, making them part-time employees.
Exactly right.
What other things are they doing?
Well, I think that the real question is, how will the White House respond to this decision? This president clearly wants to preserve the legacy of Obamacare as part of his legacy. I think this decision by the Supreme Court places enormous pressure on the president and the White House to negotiate major changes, not just nibbling around the edges, but major changes in Obamacare. And I think one of them will be whether they decide to enforce this employer mandate that requires them to provide benefits to all their employees.
And so as we see this in terms of who's up and who's down in Washington, there are those who say Chief Justice John Roberts, in essence, is getting a do-over with this, a second bite at the legal apple, right, since he decided mystically that Obamacare, it's okay with taxes, whatever, to pave the way for it. Now, this could really be the undoing of Obamacare.
It absolutely could, and some of the legal scholars that have been reporting on this suggest that what, in fact, the motivation for the Supreme Court to say they're going to take this up at this point, several days after Republicans took over Congress, suggests that they do want to leave a mark on this law.
Isn't this kind of weird that this is happening? This just happened Friday.
Yeah.
And then, what is it, November 15th is when people can enroll again?
That's right. I mean, it does introduce an enormous amount of confusion, uncertainty, never good for the economy, never good for businesses, and I think that's what is also going to drive more negotiations in terms of fixing this large law. So,
and Nick,
yes,
with about a minute left here, that whole notion of what goes on November 15th and a replay of the rollout debacle, will we see that November 15th? That
remains to be seen. What we're hearing from the White House is they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars to make this healthcare.gov website work better than it did last year. It was a complete disaster last year. They've also fixed the mechanism that allows people to kind of do some window shopping and what their options are before they buy. Their hope is that it is fixed and that it will work better, but as we saw last year, things did not go as planned, and it could be another difficult couple months.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead. After you.
No, after
no,
you.
I insist. Well,
go ahead. We're running out of time.
Yeah,
yes,
time becomes a four-letter word. There's a whole additional spectrum we have to deal with, and that is not only the money spent on Obamacare, but the money spent ostensibly to fix the VA healthcare system. We're hearing about a possible overhaul from the Secretary, but we're going to talk more about the problems plaguing the VA when we come back.